Something happened in that last week, the week before the shooting.
And then he calls my family pawns in his game. Well, he taught me how to play chess.
Guilty, guilty.
Welcome to Headline Crime. I'm Susan Hendricks. And for you today is exclusive exhibits from what we saw inside of the courtroom. The state's exhibits, the evidence against Richard Allen during that search warrant of his home, October 13th, 2022. I want to get right to it and go through those exhibits with you. And it starts with pictures of Richard Allen. And then we'll go back and tell you how we got here to the search of his home. It's the 6th day of the trial. Let's get to State's Exhibit 275. These are pictures of Richard Allen from 2016. Let's go to the first one. This is April 12th, 2016. This appears to be a scrapbook. This was shown to the jurors again as an exhibit, and this says some notes on the side. I'm assuming from the wife, but we don't know. It says, Ricky looking down off of High Bridge Trail, Delphi, Indiana. Again, April 12th, 2016. The next photograph is March 11th, 2016. It says, Ricky's nice bass out of Deer Creek, Delphi, Indiana. Then the third picture, it says, this must be some sort of inside joke, trying to make it out. It says, we do tree on trail in Delphi. It's Richard Allen. You see him behind the tree as you're looking at it here with a tan skull cap. Did he wear that on the bridge where he put himself on that day, February 13th, 2017? Could that be it? Well, it was taken as evidence, State's Exhibit 275. Now let's go to Exhibit 262, a blue Carhartt jacket in the bedroom of Richard Allen, taking pictures of this and the Carhartt jacket. Now, let's go back to the interview that has been released. You may have seen it with Steve Mullen and also Sheriff Liggett. And they were questioning him. They called him in. He came in, Richard Allen at the time. It was a casual, friendly conversation to begin with. Again, this is the same day. We'll get to the search of his home. He comes in. They're asking him about that day. They're saying, we're going back to the beginning. Remember Superintendent Doug Carter saying time and time again, we're going back to the beginning. Well, that's exactly what happened. And now we know as we piece things together how we came to this, which is from Kathy Schenck and what she found on that tip. So they bring him in. He's casual. He's friendly. They're friendly as well. He talks about being on the stock ticker. They joke about not doing well in the stocks. He talks about turning 50. Haha, they are too. Some jokes about that. They asked him what he was wearing, and he says a blue or black Carhartt jacket. He describes wearing boots, maybe military-style boots and jeans, kind of describing what we've seen for so many years, because at this particular time, we're almost on 6 years where no one's under arrest, and they were looking for Bridge Guy. He describes what he was wearing. If you think about it, I may say, I don't know. It's been so long. I have no idea what I was wearing. Maybe, though, that's what he normally wears. So he describes that. Soon after, they show him the still shot, that picture that Libby took. It was taken from the video on Libby's phone, saying, is this you? That's when he says,
and the question needs to be, is that you? If it was taken with the girl's phone, that is absolutely, I mean, it's not me, but I never have met these girls before, so even if I thought it looked like me, if it was taken with the girl's phone, there's no way it could be. I've never met them. I've never seen them.
If it was taken from the girls' phones, and I'm paraphrasing here, if it was taken by one of the girls, it can't be me, saying that's not me, but he put himself there. And he also changed the time a bit during this interview. Well, it got contentious pretty fast at the end of that interview. But they were able, they drove him home back to his house. They got a search warrant. And then these are the exhibits that you're looking at. Was Bridge Guy wearing this jacket? Was Richard Allen wearing this jacket? State's Exhibit 262. He said it was either black or blue. That's what he wore that day. The next exhibit is 267, and this is the 6-hour handgun. It was found in the nightstand next to Allen's bed on his side. How did they know that? Well, apparently they saw what he was wearing at CVS on that side of the bed. So you're looking at it here on top of the bed with a bullet next to this. And the next exhibit is the 140 caliber Smith & Wesson unspent round. It was found in what Detective Vito describes, you're looking at it here, on a dresser in Richard Allen's bedroom as a memory box or a keepsake box. And if you look close, you see it, saying it matched the bullet, the same type of bullet that was found at the scene. And the next exhibit, this brought me back to that press conference, April 2019, where we didn't know what was going to happen before, but we saw a picture of Abby, a picture of Libby. A picture was covered, and it was revealed it was a picture of the bridge, Bone on High Bridge. So looking at this was in an album. Is that strange? That's what the defense was arguing. For someone who lived in that town? No. Think about how small of a town Delphi is, of course. That was a place where people went. There were trails, and that is a picture of the bridge. And it says, views of the old railroad bridge off the Bone on High Bridge Trail, taken Delphi, Indiana, April 5th, 2008. And there are close-up pictures of that. Unclear who took that. Now, with that gun that you're seeing on the bed here, one of the exhibits, in court on that day, again, day 6, huge for the state, Jerry Holman walked up to the jurors holding that gun, showing them up close. It was chilling to think about. And in the beginning of the day, they played what was on Libby's phone. They played it several times throughout the trial. It became apparent and clear what the state was trying to do, establish that this is what happened. This is how the girls felt on the bridge that day. Richard Allen's bridge guy, if you think about that interview, what he said he was wearing, he put himself at the bridge at that time. The times changed a bit, though, I do want to point out. Initially, Dan Doolin, bringing in the tip, a couple of days after the murders of Abby and Libby, he said he was there noon to 1:30. Well, on this day, he changed that. He said 1:30 to 3:30. So when Lieutenant Holman held up that gun to the jurors, I thought back to, is that what they saw? Is that what they were thinking? What did they think? Well, we learned after that interview with Liggett, we kind of understood more. Again, as I said, it started out very friendly, ended not so friendly. They drove Richard Allen to his home on Whiteman Drive. Then they get a search warrant and go back in. Detective Vito is one of the detectives searching his home, and he was on the stand that day in court, Thursday, day 6, describing what he saw, talking about more than 25 knives found in the home. Defense attorney Baldwin said that's normal when he cross-examined that for that area, and if someone is into fishing or hunting or what have you. And the pictures of Richard Allen and how he went to the bridge, they were establishing. He went to the bridge. He told us he was on the bridge that day. And of course, his car in the garage, that vehicle, which they believe is what he drove on that day that he admitted to driving to the bridge. Now let's go to Exhibit 249 and 250, which is a black Ford Focus registered to Richard Allen at the time of the murders of Abby and Libby in 2017. What you're looking at is a black Ford Focus inside of his garage in Whiteman Drive. Now, if you go back to that same day of the search, the same day they got the search warrant, and you go back to the interview with Mullen, with Liggett, they talk about the car. And Richard Allen says, so what if it is my car? What if it is? You will find nothing that attaches me to those murders, I'm paraphrasing. But he seemed to get angry. He said that this has shifted in some way. He can sense it's not going the way he wanted it to. And we don't have all of the exhibits. We do know that there were several guns, knives found in that home. Also a basket, kind of, in most homes, kind of something you throw your keys in, like a catch-all. In there was a box cutter, name tag, Richard Allen, CBS, some keys. Is that typical of someone who would be into hunting, be into fishing? That's what the defense said. The jury thought that that was not the case when weighing all the evidence. But again, this day was big. It was huge. And Lieutenant Holman, he was there as well. He was outside in his car, and at one point, Richard Allen was in the vehicle with him. And he said, look, I just want to let you know if they do any damage inside of your home, let's say chip some paint on a wall or do something else, you could fill out this form and we'll reimburse you. And Richard Allen says, and this stood out to me, it doesn't matter. It's over. Again, it doesn't matter. It's over. Was he thinking at that point, it's been almost 6 years. This is the end of the road. I'm finally caught. Well, he seemed confident in the first interview. The second one was different after that search warrant with Holman. Way more contentious, way more guarded. Let's go back to what led to Richard Allen after all of these years. And Kathy Schenck, I was lucky enough to meet her. On one of the days she testified, her just the sweetest person ever. I remember the prosecutor, Nick McClelland, thanked her at the press conference, saying they wouldn't be here without Kathy. And it was the date she remembers, September 21st, 2022. She remembers because it was her late husband's birthday that she came across that file. And she was retired, volunteering, very diligent, attention to detail. If you'll notice that kind of sentence from this Superintendent Doug Carter thanking Kathy Schenck when someone was arrested. That was October 31st, 2022. But I go back to when this was found, and she notices the file was just handwritten, and she had a system of putting it in the computer, and it was not there. And she notices that it was cleared, but that something was off about it. She brings it to Liggett because, again, she spent hours on alphabetizing and putting the tips inside of the computer to make it easier for everyone else. And they were moving the building in terms of where they were doing their investigations for Delphi. They were moving that building, and she came across this handwritten file. And she knew something was off, and she gave it to Liggett. And then subsequently, what followed was the arrest of Richard Allen on Whiteman Drive and what they found in the home. And it was enough. All of the evidence combined, in my opinion, it was what was on Libby's phone. What was on Libby's phone, because they kept going back. Liggett and Mullen here, time and time again. You put yourself there. You said you were wearing something similar. This is you. And it stood out to me. I just watched it again where he said, did you see this guy then? Mullen said, Steve, no, I didn't. So if you are describing you at that time and you didn't see this guy, that is you. You were at the bridge during the time where Abby and Libby were there. So here are some of the exhibits, things that weren't shown to the public. They were shown inside. And I will tell you that this day, day 6, was a huge turning point. I could tell looking over at the jurors. Again, they were focused the whole time, taking notes. They were able to ask questions. But this was a shift to me, what was found inside of his home. The pictures, the exhibits. He was familiar with the bridge. He was used to going there. Several photos. He had knives, he had guns, he had a box cutter. There was a memory box. There was an unspent bullet in that memory box. He said he was there. He said what he was wearing. It all adds up. It got a guilty conviction. When we get more exhibits, we'll bring it to you. Thanks for watching.